All right, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Snapper Chat podcast. Today, we've got a very special guest, Mr. Jason Steinberg. Guys, this man right here is very, very impressive. We've been following him on social media for a little bit. Dude is a D2D, door-to-door sales coach. He's an investor. He'll be able to tell you guys a little bit about what he's been able to do in that. We talk about knocking doors to buying doors. Dude did $3.9 million in sales 2024. He has been to 39 countries, which I think is pretty cool because I've only been to 2 countries. I've been to every single state in the country except for Alaska, but 39 countries, bro. That's awesome. And dude, you were 2024 Golden Door Award winner, which is something that everybody, when they get into the door-to-door industry, that is their goal. Was that your first year hitting it this year, Jason?
Yeah, that was my first time hitting a Golden Door.
Awesome, bro. Well, dude, congratulations. I'd love to, I got a bunch of questions for you, but I'd love to just kind of hear, like, what is your background and how did you get into the door-to-door industry?
Yeah, good question. So I started off, I come from a pretty good family. I'm from California originally. I went to school. I grew up in Palo Alto. I went to school at University of California, Santa Barbara. I studied biology. I studied ecology, so like the interactions between species. After school, I started working in a lab, and I just really kind of realized that really wasn't for me. And I started getting into sales. So I had a friend that was in sales, and I was like, hey, how can I get into sales? And he's like, well, go on LinkedIn and just, every person with VP of sales in their bio, like just shoot them a message. So I found this job. I was selling, it was a genetics company. I was selling genetically modified animals to CEOs of biotech companies, and I really had to be very presentable and sound very intelligent, and so I just wasn't making good money doing that, and I was living with a girlfriend that was just not working. It wasn't a good situation. And yeah, I mean, there's just a couple other things in my life that I just, I wasn't really happy with. I tried to start some businesses, didn't have the funds to do it. I could only afford to eat out maybe like once a week. And I went to San Diego one week, and I was visiting some friends, and it was in the middle of COVID. I found out about this party, and we went to this party in the middle of COVID. We were like, what's going on? It was all these guys that were saying like, hey, we make 6 figures in 4 months selling pest control door to door, and they were like, you guys, you should come do it with us. And they were, obviously talking to all of us. My best friends ended up going, but I was like, hell no! Like, I have a full-time job. I have a girlfriend. But once my friends decided they were going, it took a little bit of convincing, but I decided to go. I was working for a small company in Florida. It was called Greenhouse. Greenhouse now no longer does door to door. I did that for 2 years. I sold 500 accounts my first year. After reading Sam Taggart's book, ABCs of Closing. Second year did about 500 accounts as well. First year only 250K. Second year about 320K. That CBA slowly creeping up, and then I switched to active, and that changed everything for me. I got introduced to Damon Lilly through my boss, and I was the first one to sign, and I decided to do it. And my first year at Active, made about 300K, sold about 500K in rev, and then this past year I did a Golden Door.
That is awesome. And how many accounts was that to hit the Golden Door?
770 accounts.
Love it. So we've got a lot of people watching from, different industries, pest, alarms, automotive. We're in solar, so we always want to keep these podcasts kind of like agnostic to the industry, because like
Sure.
we're all like in the same, space
Yeah,
when it comes to like door to door. So what would be your best advice, Jason, for somebody that's going out here 2025 with the goal of having a Golden Door?
Yeah, absolutely. I think a lot of it is just the challenge. Like, you have to be very, challenge oriented. For me, I guess, first off, over time, like, I've almost become addicted to challenging myself and then completing the challenge, whether it's physically or mentally. Golden Door was just another challenge for me that I felt I had to complete. And then when you complete it, you just feel like at the top of the world. And so I guess just being um, very challenge oriented is one thing. I also think that who you surround yourself with is super important. I had another Golden Door on my team, Jackson Ricks. Proximity is power. Really big believer, and you surround yourself with two other people that are successful. You're going to be the third. You surround yourself with two other people that are making more money than you. You're going to make more money too. Same with fitness. Like if you surround yourself with two people more fit than you, um, you're going to become more fit. So it's true for anything in life. I think proximity is power, but you can also create proximity. So I just think that I would say proximity as well as challenge, just being very challenge oriented.
No, I couldn't agree more. I got connected with those Elliott Army guys this year, and they called me out. And because of that, I was able to go out there. They challenged me to get a six pack in 90 days, and I dropped 45 pounds, dude,
Wow,
in 3 months.
amazing.
And we made a bet, and I won it. And I'm like you, it's like I want a challenge, you know.
Yeah,
And so I agree with you 100%. Now, one thing I'm curious about is like, what are the biggest struggles you think that you faced as you were going out there, and how did you overcome them to hit
yeah,
that goal?
definitely. I this year I took on the crazy challenge of I committed to doing a half Ironman.
For those of you that don't know, that's a mile and a half swim. That's a 56-mile bike, and then you run a half a marathon, 13.1 miles. That's crazy. Did you do it?
I did do it 2 weeks after I finished season, and
Nice.
I actually really during season I really could. It was hard to find the time to train for it. Before I came into season, I actually couldn't swim more than one lap in a pool. So a lot of my time was spent. A lot of my mornings were spent at the pool swimming. Most of the challenges were mental. You get to some areas that you have some trouble with, and you just need to know when the right time to move is. Um, I think a lot of it was, my first month, I guess. So I guess when I did the Golden Door, I was never really sure if I was going to do it. And to be honest, I didn't really ever commit to doing it. I was just like, hey, if this happens, like that's awesome. But then when it got toward the end of season and I was really, really close, I was like, okay, like I guess we're going to stay an extra 2 weeks, and like we're going to do this. So that was, I guess it was just challenging to stay out there, and especially when I hit like 500K, I was like, I could just go home and have enough money to just totally chill for the rest. It just really had to come from within to do it.
Yeah, no, that's huge. I think the biggest struggles that people have are like you're saying, like kind of like seeing it through to the finish, and then just obviously to get to that point where you hit 500K in rev, like you obviously had to have your routine dialed, your mindset was dialed, and it's just like you're probably just working every single day, right? Are there any other struggles that you think that people in the door-to-door industry face in order to get to that point?
I think, yeah, I mean, definitely, I'm guilty of it too. It's like the mental fatigue. But again, burnout, summer burnout, it's it has to do with proximity.
Hmm.
You're only going to burn out if the people around you are burning out. So if you're a leader and you're watching this, then make sure that you're not burning out in front of your reps or saying anything that gives off burnout vibes, like, oh, I'm so tired, or oh, summer's almost over, like I'm so ready to get out of here. You just can't say stuff like that, or that will, yeah, you'll affect everyone around you.
Yeah, we had one of our leaders the other day. They were like, "Hey, you're not burnt out. Your bank account's burnt out." And I'm like, "That's a good one," you know. But kind of like switching topics a little bit, because I think that a quote I heard last week, and you're kind of reminding me of that right now, is something along the lines of like, "Life is a question, and how you live it, how you live your life, is your answer." Right? So like, life's a question, how you live it is your answer. And so, like we talked about in the beginning of this podcast, like you've obviously done very, very well financially and with your background. I think it's super cool that like you were taught before you got into the sales space on like how to speak intelligently, and that's where it's not about to be successful in sales, it's not about just like one thing, it's a culmination of everything. It's how you talk, it's how you walk, it's how you
Yeah,
present yourself, it's how you make the homeowners feel. But with what you've been able to accomplish, you've been able to literally travel to 39 countries. You've been able to invest into real estate, right? Knock doors to buy doors. And so, can you kind of
yeah,
talk a little bit about that? Like, was that your intention when you got into it? Did the people like Damon Lilly, did they put you on to that? Or what was your
yeah.
kind of experience that, allowed you to be able to travel to like almost 40 countries, do almost 4 million in sales, and just have this awesome life? Like, was that intentional by design, like Jeff Mendez talks about? And what's your advice for everybody to be able to get to that point too, to be able to travel like that, to be able to live that lifestyle, and to be able to make those investments?
Yeah, so that's a good question. So, obviously with a lot of time that we have for at least with pest, we have a lot of time off every year. Um, 6, 7 months is a long time. That's the reason that I do pest is because we have so much time off. I know it's the same thing with alarms too. Is you guys get lots of time off. So being in those industries where you can make just a big bag all at once and then have that time to really focus on something else, that's crucial. As for doors, I got my first Airbnb about 2 years ago. I actually do this thing called Airbnb arbitrage. So Airbnb arbitrage is where you basically you start a business. I personally I call it like a corporate housing company. So website, LLC, and then you open up a line of credit. So you really don't even need money to start it. And then you basically contact homeowners or you contact people that own apartments or just like whatever leasing offices. You come up, yeah, you come up with a list of leads or of potential places with low enough rent based on numbers from AirDNA, and then you are going to just basically call them and say, "Hey, you're going to do sales." And so I started off with one unit, and now I'm getting my 11th one, all in the same complex. The business has grown a lot, generates about 4 to 8K a month in profit for me, which is good. And then I have the real estate that I actually own. So this past year, in order to own real estate and door to door, this is the most important thing that a lot of people don't know when they come into door to door, is that you need to show money on your taxes. So you have to actually not. So when I first got into door to door, I was writing off so much stuff that for the first 2 years, it was basically showing that I wasn't making any money at all. So this past year, I really turned down the write offs so that it showed was showing that I was making at least 120, 130K. And then I was able to get approved for loans, which is what you need in order to buy homes. You also need a credit. So if you haven't started a credit card, you guys need to start one right now. I'm lucky enough to have my parents start me on one when I was 16. Like I said, I come from a pretty good background, so my parents were had a pretty good idea of what to do. But you need to have credit. That means you got to start a credit card or get a car loan. You're not going to get a car loan without having a credit card first. So get that credit score rolling. Once you have that, then your next process is going to be getting approved for a loan, which you need to have 2 years of 1099s from the same company. It can be a different company, but it's best if it's from the same company. And then from there, you can start thinking about actually buying a home. So this year I bought 2 homes. I have enough money to buy a couple more. I'm just right now I'm not really sure if that's something I'm ready to take on, but I think maybe in the new year I'll be thinking about buying more properties.
It's awesome. And how old are you, Jason?
I'm 27.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I'm right there with you, late 20s. And I think it's kind of just awesome to see how life changing this industry and door to door really is. Whether you come from like a decent background or like no background, you really can change your stars in this industry in just 2 years. And then it's about forward thinking, like where do you want to be? So with that, where do you kind of like have a game plan for where you want to be 2025, 26, 27, 28, next like 4 or 5 years? Do you kind of have it mapped out?
Yeah, sure. So one of my off seasons while traveling, I met this guy. Many people on social media might know. His name's Noah Roulette. Noah Roulette is a big. He's a fitness influencer, and he started off doing door to door. He did roofing. Initially, I signed him to come work at Aptive. When I met him, he had like about 50,000 followers, but between the time I signed him and season starting, he blew up to like about 150, 200,000 followers. And, he was super open because he's big on door to door. He was super open to, helping me recruit still. So with help from him, I was able to recruit like a couple people last year, and those people have just been recruiting like crazy. Now this year, now he's at like 500,000 followers. And one story post, on his story, pretty much floods my Instagram DMs with literally hundreds of people just wanting to get into sales. So, my team's already completely full right now. I have people replacing people. I'm constantly cutting people and just replacing them with better candidates. So because of that, like I really think that staying where I am right now is going to be the best move for me. I think obviously I want to continue gaining real estate, but running big teams and really expanding the my personal business is and moving up toward regional or even partner at some point in the future is definitely on the horizon for me.
That is awesome, dude. Well, dude, we got a lot of value from you. I think biggest takeaway for me is like you got to be purpose driven. You have to have your why. You've got to have your game plan. I see a lot of people, they just like take their money, they make 50 grand, 100 grand, whatever it is, and then they just kind of blow it versus going out there and saying
Yeah,
like, no, I'm gonna go out there and make three, four, $500,000, right? I'm gonna try to do
for
even more
sure.
than that. And then have a game plan for what you want to do with it so that every single day when you go out there, it's like there's a means to an end and you've got a game plan. And it's like a lot of people, they don't have that. And so
Yeah,
if anybody can take away anything from this podcast, like my hope would be that they can say like, I can go out there, I can make investments, I can go out there and I can
definitely.
have these big goals. Would there be any other bits of advice or encouragement or maybe like a
Yeah,
challenge that you have for people as we wrap up this podcast and as we wrap
sure.
up 2024 and go into 2025?
Yeah, for sure. So, well, one thing that I always tell people is in sales, there's really three tiers, at least commission only sales. There's really three tiers. You have tier one, tier two, tier three. Tier one is your bottom tier. These are the guys that are maybe coming out and treating it like a summer job or they're treating it like a summer internship. These are the guys that, maybe they did some of the training that you recommended for them to do, but they didn't really do everything. And then these are the guys that are going home early from the neighborhood. These are the guys that aren't really taking it super seriously. Maybe their work ethic isn't the best. These are the guys that in our industry are typically the ones that are upset with the outcome of their summer. Now you got tier two guys. Now tier two guys, these are the ones that follow everything that you told them to do. These are the guys that did all the training that you recommended they do. They met one on one with you whenever you recommended that they do so. These are the guys that have good work ethic, and they're the ones that are typically making mid range. Like when you look up what is the average salary of a door to door salesman, they're making around that. Now you got tier three. Now tier three are the guys that treat this thing like a sport. These are the guys that go above and beyond for everything. You tell them to, you tell them to go do one thing, they're gonna go do that thing twice. These are the ones that are watching, reading books about door-to-door sales on their or about sales in their free time. These are the guys that have the strongest work ethic of anyone. These are ones that are competitors, not just finishers in the race. And I really think of like sales as like almost like an ultra marathon. It's just every day it feels like a marathon mentally. So these are the people that are extremely strong mentally and have just the strongest work ethic. These are the ones that are making 100, 200, 300, 400, 500, 600K over summer, even more sometimes. But it really just takes a tier three kind of person to get there. And one thing I like to think of is like, yeah, you're not gonna. It's really hard to be a tier three, to be the first tier three. It's not impossible, but it's really hard to be the first the tier three guy, unless you're surrounded by other people who are tier three. So if you guys are, I talk to so many people like from Noah, that get sent to me from Noah that are in door to door working for these smaller companies where there's no tier three people. Everyone's tier one, tier two. Nobody takes it seriously. No one treats it like a sport. Nobody has a crazy work ethic. So I just goes back like Aptiv. We had the most golden doors in the entire industry this year. Being surrounded by those tier three people is just absolutely crucial to your success. So if you guys are in companies where you're not surrounded by those tier three golden door winners, you guys need to get there ASAP. And I promise, I know, some of you guys might have like good relationships with the people that you're working with, and that might be the only reason why you guys are working there. But I promise you, if you surround yourself with those tier three people, then you'll actually have a shot at getting there yourself.
What would you say are the daily routines that got you to that tier three person? Assuming that you are a tier three person now as a golden door,
Or
right?
yeah,
Like
absolutely.
from sun up to sundown. What's the routine in the summer?
Man, I really, I would say that I would say that I'm a tier three guy, but I don't have any crazy routine. Like, some mornings I like to wake up and kind of just hang out before morning meeting. Some days I might wake up and go for a run. It's just really kind of what's in the fuel, like what my heart is telling me to do at that time. So, yeah, I mean, I pretty much wake up, go to morning meeting 9 a.m. Then after that, maybe hit a swim, hit a lift, and then I usually go out around like 12, 12:30, and then just go straight, no breaks, no lunch. Like, I'm not taking breaks in between doors. I'm getting off the door as quickly as possible. If somebody doesn't seem interested, like, I'm gone. It's not like we're saying anything crazy out there. It's really not. It's the people that are winning golden doors just know when someone's interested and when someone's not interested. That's probably the main thing, is just being able to tell, like, hey, this person's buying, this person's interested, or this person's just going to waste my time and wants to talk with me. Like, when people are wanting to talk with me and they're not interested, I'm like, hey, look, I love everything you're saying, but I got to keep moving because I have a really important goal that I have to hit. So I got to go. But nice to meet you. Have a good day.
How many doors would you say you're knocking? Are you getting off the doors at like 6, or are you getting off the doors at like 8, 9?
Not 6.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm getting off the doors like closer to 8 or 9.
Yep.
I usually, to be honest, a lot of people around me are really big on knocking past dark. Never really been my thing. I like to just go till sunset, but I'm hitting more doors than anyone else, like anyone else. So I'm usually talking. So at Aptiv, which was a foreign concept to me before I got to Aptiv, we have knocks and then we have DMs. So a knock is basically just any door that you touch. A DM
DM
is a
decision
decision
maker.
maker.
Yep.
So your decision makers are the important ones. Those are the stats that we count. I mean, it could knock anywhere from 100 to 200 doors a day. Decision makers on a bad day, we're talking probably like
Or
80,
80.
eighty,
That's a bad day.
80. Yeah, that's a bad day. And then a good day, we're looking at way less, like maybe like 20 or 20, 25.
Yep.
So a bad day when you're in a neighborhood that's just like people are not giving you the reception. I'm moving through that area really, really quick, qualifying. If they're not interested and they're like, get out of here, I'm out. I'm not, I'm not pushing, I'm not causing problems. And in the past, I really enjoyed to, like, maybe push some buttons,
Push as
but
far as
this
you
year,
can.
yeah, this year it's like, if you're telling me to get out of there, I'm not going to be pushing through your objections. That's going to piss you off and burn that neighborhood for the next guy. So,
Yep.
I mean, I think that's also really important, is just like, in door to door is like, don't be a pest. Don't be like annoying. because then that ruins it for everyone else after you.
Well, dude, what you've been able to accomplish to the as a 27-year-old going out to like almost 40 countries, hitting the golden door, making the investments. It's going to be kind of cool to see where you're going over the next 3 years. People can find you on Instagram, Jason Steinberg. We'll put your handle right here. And do you have any other final like encouragement, challenge for anybody watching this right now to be able to go out there and hit the golden door? Make the investments, travel the world. As we wrap this up.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, if the golden door is something that you're really interested in doing, is just say the most important thing is just have the people around you that you need. You know, having that support system is just going to be the most crucial thing for you guys. And then obviously going in with the mindset is going to be pretty crucial as well.
Yep. Awesome. Well said, bro. Well, guys, thank you so much for watching another episode of Snapper Chat Podcast. We'll be having the next one tomorrow, and we're going to be interviewing people like Jason that are going out there. Guys, thousands of people across the country are changing their lives in the door-to-door industry. And so if you don't think that it's for you, just know there's people going out there doing it, people from all walks of life. You know, Jason was literally a biologist, right? I went to school to be an English teacher, and now we're out here crushing the door-to-door industry. And so, guys, you can do it. It's the best industry to be a part of. You can go out there, learn these life skills that are going to be able to translate to every single thing that we do for the rest of our entire life. I personally believe that the greatest entrepreneurs of the next generation are going to come from the door-to-door industry. And so, Jason, we appreciate you for coming on the podcast, and we'll see you guys on the next one. Let's go.